All right, guys. This week we're going to be talking about Vigil Pyro. We'll start with defense here. On this map for defense, you can run detonator. It's kind of always good, but you can definitely run flares as well on pretty much every point on defense. Just gives you like some kill potential and stuff on players walking in, and if you end up participating in fights, it can be useful. And there's not a lot of value other than spy checking, which is very good. That you're going to be getting out of detonator on this map. Probably not a shotgun map in my opinion. Not a lot of great angles for it. But yeah, for the purpose of this review, I'll just go over detonator since that's kind of the default for most people. But just know flares are really solid on this map for defense as well. Anyways, so on defense, usually what teams have been doing the past couple of seasons is playing on this flank area to hold first and taking an Uber exchange here. Previously, teams would hold back there, like behind the fence, and then kind of like half hold the point and give it up quickly. The benefit that you get from playing up here is you get the Uber exchange out, you potentially hold the point for a lot longer, and then you fall back to second, ideally without losing a bunch of people. It forces the Uber exchange to take place on first, which buys you a bunch more time, because even if, say, you take this Uber and then you immediately lose and leave, and assuming you don't like drop everyone, now the enemy team is most likely either they have to take a sack or a dry, or they're like waiting for Uber to take the fight again. And this is a pretty tough point to take without Uber. So that's kind of like the general thought process behind it. So I'm going to go over this. I'll go over this a little bit just in case. A lot of teams still run it in lower divs, I found. And who knows what will happen in the near future. It kind of bounces between these two holds. So for first, generally speaking, there's a couple things you want to worry about. One is going to be trying to catch the spy on the cross, which you can do pretty effectively, especially with det. You can kind of wait a few seconds and then just start shooting dets like this at the top of hill, and you can stand here and like check for the cross on tracks. Generally, he's not going to cross on this side because you're going to have like a soldier here. You're going to have like your whole team kind of like looking here, your scout running around over here. It's going to be just pretty hard to cross. You still want to check every now and again, but it's most likely he's crossing like over hill, try to get into tons to get the telly, and then come back in for during the Uber exchange. Or he could go over tracks and do the same thing. Sometimes they'll go fast and like try to like get through here and then like do a decloak here and then like go in for like a sap on the gun if they want to take like a really fast exchange. So generally that's what I'll try to be doing. I'll just try to be spy checking here for a little bit, try to make sure my heavy doesn't get stabbed, then maybe start worrying about this, making sure it doesn't decloak here on my sniper, and then kind of like rotate back here, maybe if they're taking a long time. But this isn't like I don't always do this. The other thing you want to worry about, depending on the soldier you're playing against, is sometimes those soldiers will try to high bomb and land on the gun and try and sack instead of taking the exchange immediately. So you want to make sure your med doesn't force to that or drop to that. So these are kind of like the two primary things. You want to be like doing your best to spy check, and then if you hear a soldier call, like immediately looking up for this guy, trying to deny him. Those are the main things that you want to do on first. For the exchange, there's a couple things you can do, and it depends on how the other team wants to approach it. Most of the time, what I see teams do is take the exchange through tracks, either with a demo pyro or a demo scout. Sometimes teams will do, I guess, something very similar to what they'll do on second, where I think like Witness Gaming has done this a lot, where they'll take the Uber through flank to like try and kill the gun, and then immediately rotate after the exchange comes out, and then try to take the dry fight tracks instead of just taking it tracks at the start. Most of the teams I've played on just take it straight through tracks, so I'm less knowledgeable of the kind of the logic behind this, but it's definitely not a bad thing. Generally speaking, like I said, teams are going to come through here. If they do come this way, you can kind of stuff here, and that's about it, and then just get ready to rotate. There's not a whole lot you need to be doing. Worry about, like, stuff this and then immediately look for spy before you rotate, because there's a decent chance spy's trying to, like, decloak and sap the gun while you're trying to stuff that. If they're just coming through main tracks, there's the primary thing, the most important thing is you're getting a call that this is happening, and then you want to be, like, dropping down and, like, stuffing it, right? Like, that's kind of, like, the main thought process. What I like to do, this is kind of like the secret trick, especially if they don't take a pyro Uber, this is super busted, is you can let them walk to like here, to like try and peek you, and then instead of trying to like jump out and stuff them, like back towards their spawn, you can just do this, and take a demo man, and just put this guy over here. Assuming you're taking an exchange, it kind of automatically wins the Uber because immediately as soon as this guy gets air blasted over here, even if you don't kill him, because like one, he's like beam's getting broken, so your heavy has an opportunity to just like turn around and kill a guy for free. And even if the beam doesn't get broken or he just has plenty of time to get out, like he's spending his entire Uber shooting a stick at the ground and jumping out. So it just turns it into like a solo scout, solo pyro Uber, really, really strong, and potentially a free demo kill. So definitely look for opportunities to put players in this corner if you can. Communicate with your team that you're doing it, but I really, really like it. It's really, really powerful. Otherwise, it is totally fine to just, air blast them up, end away, take the space for the post fight. Generally speaking, what happens after that, you take the Uber, is you're going to play out instead of going back up to flank. It's pretty common. And once you get to here, the main thing is your team is going to be trying to stuff the sniper, which you can kind of help a little bit, making sure it's hard for him to peek. You can help reflex spam if they do take this corner and try to get on cart. And the big thing is you need to be worried about spy. You have a ton of space for the spy to walk in, so it's pretty easy to just kind of keep an eye on everything and just kind of like be like looking around, making sure like nothing bad's happening. The things that suck here is ammo management is tough, so you want to make sure you're only reflecting stuff that really matters, and you want to make sure you're just try to have as much ammo as you can, like going into it, because jumping up here to like hit the dispenser and come back sucks. It creates opportunities for people to like get stabs and stuff. So the better you can be in position to like help your team, because everyone's going to be trying to play wide and like stuff this. Usually like your medic can do a lot of spy checking when you have to look forward and deny spam and stuff and like try to like push the sniper out, and then the rest of the time you have a lot of freedom to look for spy and make sure he doesn't walk in on anyone, because even like one pick from the spy is really impactful here. Like if your heavy dies here, it really, really sucks. It makes life really hard for you. You kind of have to back up. Once you kind of start losing some players and such, and you want to back up, you just kind of back up to default on second. Before I go into full second default, I'll just cover the tunnel hold, or not the tunnel hold, the fence hold very quickly. Generally speaking here, you have like a gun like here or something like that, and you all just kind of play behind this, except for your like soldier and heavy will play like over here, I think. Maybe your sniper will be like playing out this way instead of from the right, but you can't really protect this guy super well. Best you can do is like make sure like a spy doesn't come from here, but you don't want to be like crossing this to get sniped. Usually what I do, again, it's been a while since I've done this hold. Teams don't really do it nearly as much anymore. What I would do is I would start by shooting a couple of these like dets or flares at the start, like right over that, and then make sure you're hiding so you don't get sniped here. And then your main job is just to make sure no one gets stabbed. I would try to split up my responsibilities with my NG. I would either tell my NG to like cover anything up here, make sure the spy can't walk this way at all, and then I would focus on like, this and this and this, making sure no one can come in from that. But you could do it the other way around. I just really like dividing the responsibilities in this situation, because it's really easy for like you and your NG to both be worried about this when like the spy decloaks here and vice versa. So just make sure you're communicating. And then again, generally this is like, okay, they get card up here, they get like one pick, they kill gun or something, and then you just back up instantly. Once you get to the second hold, there's a couple of places that I think are really good to play on Pyro, and it entirely depends on your sniper, basically. Firstly, actually, I'll go over, say you're playing up forward instead of playing back. If you're playing up to like actually meet them here, you can kind of be playing in this corner, making sure nobody like comes in to get a stab, because you don't really want to be like swinging this too much or like taking too much of a fight yourself here. Just let your demo be like trapping this, and like trying to meet them, and you like don't put yourself at risk of like a sniper swinging like in the back and then just headshotting you. That's really bad for your team. So generally try not to peek too much, make sure no one's getting stabbed, make sure you're ready, say like a soldier bombs up tracks, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure like you're ready for a spy walking through here or like from house, yada, yada, yada. But most of the time you're letting your team like look forward here. Like you have your demo looking forward here, you have your sniper looking forward here. You like even your scout might be like trying to fight here. So your job is to just make sure they don't die to anything that they're not looking at. A lot of second in general is making sure that you're watching the direction your team isn't. Because a lot of times they're going to be focused on overhill more than anything else. But say you're not holding this far forward and you're holding a little more back. This is kind of like the normal default holds. There's a couple places I think are really strong. The default that I go to is this, generally speaking. It puts you in a really strong position because you can see this. If you're playing in the dispenser, the soldier on top of house is like really hard to deal with, and he's just going to be like shooting you in the head. So get ammo from the dispenser if you need to, but try to stay out of it as much as you can. And if you're playing here, you kind of get to lock out pretty much everything that you want. You can very easily, stop spy from getting through here. You can very easily see if those packs disappear. You can very easily like be ready to deal with a spy walking out of either of these doors. You can spy check over here pretty easily if you want. You're in a position to spy check this if you want, because this is a pretty common place that spies will like decloak right here and then walk in for the gun. And you're in a good position that you're ready to like get forward and deal with an Uber and reflex spam and stuff. So this is kind of like my default. If my sniper, which is really common, plays over here and is like trying to take this space and like take this angle, I will literally just put myself right behind them. Just to basically, I'll tell my NG, like you want to communicate that you're not near the gun for your NG. It's very important. But your sniper being alive on this point is probably more important than the gun in my opinion, because even if the gun dies, your sniper can still get picks. Your sniper can rotate, the back and like take wide tracks and stuff, but your NG is going to be like under like really hard pressure regardless. So generally, if my sniper's playing over here, I will play directly on them very aggressively. You can worry about spy coming through here. You can look behind you. You can like make sure. Sometimes spies will like try to get really disrespectful and like decloak here and then try to like walk into your sniper or something. So be wary of it. It's less common though. But you can reflect spam off your sniper. You can make sure he's not getting stabbed. This is kind of like my default if my sniper is over here. If you are when the Ubers come out on this point. A lot of it is really dependent on whether both teams have Uber and where they take it from for what your job is. If it's a trade or if your team really needs you to stuff it so that they can get space, generally speaking, if they come over hill, you're going to want to play the house and just like jiggle the corner, reflex spam, reflect them back. It's a really good corner. It's really hard for them to deal with unless they get a soldier up top. If they get a soldier up top, you kind of just have to like give the space. What a lot of teams will do, if they feel that they're at a disadvantage to the hill Uber, they'll all kite like wide tracks and then like try to refight. They might kite through spawn to get here, whatever, to get like back here, and then after the Ubers fade, the demo soldier can like bomb in, scout can run in, you can run in, just like try to take the space. Just the big thing is making sure spy doesn't get anyone. Is a bomb all the way back here is pretty tough for a soldier to pull off. So the big threat's going to be spy. If they come through main tunnel, which is usually what happens in main tunnel, is teams will like come out here and like just try to like kill the gun and like get you to use and then leave and then rotate tracks. But if they play wide while you're alive, it gives you an opportunity to like reflect people up and out. Usually it's not worth dropping off here, but sometimes if they're in like a terrible position, you can just like kill people for free through this. But yeah, just generally like reflex spam off the gun. Make sure like a spy doesn't get you or your NG while that's happening. Very important. I should mention this is a map where I think it is okay to run Homewrecker on Pyro. I generally think that if you're still like really trying to learn Pyro and there's a lot of things you don't know, you should be focusing on your fundamentals far more than worrying about like what's secondary or what like melee weapon you use or whatever. It's not gonna like you're giving yourself like small percentages, and if you're not at the point where you need to be worried about small percentages, you got to worry about the big stuff. If you're not like really good at tracking spy, really good at understanding Ubers, really good at understanding like bombs and positioning and all that, don't worry about your Homewrecker, bro. It doesn't matter. But it can be good on this point because a lot of times, like especially for Ubers like this, or if you're trying to kite this way, spies are going to be like trying to go for saps like right as people walk in, and you're usually playing pretty close to gun on a lot of the defensive points on Vigil other than first. So you can very quickly like do this and then like be back to reflecting spam and stuff. The important thing to note about the Homewrecker is it is not worth, like say you're playing here and the gun gets sapped and you're playing with your sniper, it is not worth doing this like ever, in my opinion. Unless your NG like dies first, which he just like shouldn't be. This is generally like really bad. You don't want to give up your positioning to use the Homewrecker, in my opinion. If you're already playing on your gun, what you can do is you can use it as an opportunity to bait the spy in. I can show this more on third for how it could be really good. I don't want to dwell too much on second. But yeah, so stuffing here. Usually if you're alive, a team should not be taking an Uber side tunnel. If they are, it's literally the freest stuff in the world. This is why you don't take side tunnel Ubers if the Pyro's alive. So just know that it is your job to make sure this doesn't get out of side tunnel if they do take it while you're alive, but it's really bad. Like this is like the freest stuff ever. You don't even need to be Ubered to like just do this. They just like can't get out. It's really strong. I think those are the main things for second. Just make sure you're not like, do not be peeking the shit with your det and getting sniped. If you peek this with your det and get sniped, you deserve to lose the point. You are throwing the game. Don't do it. Don't spy check too much out here. You can spy check with your det, but you don't need to be like running out here to spy check. It's usually again pretty bad. You just want to have good position, in my opinion. Just play where your team is. Sniper here, forward, back with your team if they want to go back here. Pretty simple. If you fall back to third, generally speaking, the gun's going to be like here somewhere, and you don't necessarily really want to play too far away from your gun on this point, unless you're playing wide, because there's kind of two ways to play it. One, you're like playing wide, trying to meet them. You use this thing to kind of like dodge the sniper. If he's trying to swing from here, you can just play here. Make sure you're watching, or you could be playing back, like up the hill a little bit more, depending on where the cart's positioned, depending on who's alive and who you have to worry about. If you're defaulting to back here, a couple extremely important things. One, this bomb is insanely strong. The soldier can literally just like land like this and just like kill everyone. So especially if you're rolling out after second, it's really common for soldiers to be fast bombing this. So you got to be looking up and worried about it until you know where the soldier is. After that, it's mostly a game of like reflecting spam and worrying about spy until it's time for the Uber. Because they can't really peek wide unless they're like committing to a fight, other than their sniper like up here. No one's really a threat to you other than a potential bomb. But if you have a gun up, the bomb gets a lot harder. And your team should be like aware of where the soldier is after you get the space originally. So generally you're going to have a gun like around here, something like that. Sometimes they'll put guns up here. So what your job kind of becomes is to make sure you're not peeking the sniper and make sure you're spy checking. This is a great point for spy checking with that. You can like check so much space kind of for free with that and just kind of like look at everything. Usually, like, spy can come from here. It's a lot less common, though, but do be aware of it. You don't need to, like, go in here and spy check, generally speaking, unless you know he's in there. Just do your best to make sure spy doesn't have the opportunity to walk in, make it hard for him to cross, and be ready to, like, deal with the Uber. Because, again, like, if they're up here all the way, they're, like, committing to a fight, and usually it's going to be with an Uber. And you should have a call that's happening. So you usually are in, like, kind of have downtime while you're waiting for that to happen, unless sniper swings this and shoots you. This is where I think Homewrecker is like actually good at this point specifically, because a lot of times you're kind of playing around this area, maybe up here, but a lot of times like around here, just kind of like looking around. And what will happen on this point is the spy will like, I don't know, like declick in this corner or something, and they just like run in for a sap and like die for it. And instead of like being super worried about making sure this spy like doesn't get the sap off, you can very simply just like let him sap it, kill it, and then stuff the Uber instantly. Like it takes really good micro, really fast micro. If you spend a lot of time worrying about it, it like completely ruins the entire like point of doing this quickly. But what it does is if you kill this really quickly, the spy dies to the NG really quickly, or you, whoever, that guy gets cleaned up because he's dying for it anyways, right? What it allows you to do is spend the rest of the Uber just reflecting all of the spam off the gun. And instead of your NG spending 2 hits destroying the sapper and then starting to repair, your NG's already just repairing the gun through the entire thing. And a lot of times it can end with the, like you can end the Uber having your full level 3 gun still up. Which I think is like it's really, really strong. You know, like so much of the purpose of the Uber is to like get the gun and then take a good dry fight, right? So if you can kind of just like bam, nullify that and then just reflect, deny this whole Uber. Because this is like super, super strong on Vigil specifically when you're stuffing an Uber on defense, is instead of trying to like just air blast the demo like up and away or whatever, what you should be thinking about doing is trying to stuff on the timings when he's going to be shooting sticks. Because the demo is only a threat if he's actually doing damage generally to your gun, right? So if you just focus on reflecting spam at the same time, like denying the like stuffing the Uber as he's shooting his spam, you could like let him walk in, get to here, and he shoots, and you reflect him back, and you know now he's back here. You don't even have to peek out any wider than that, really. But if you just like make sure you're stuffing him along with the spam at the same time, it's just as powerful as if you were to like up and away and like give up all this like space, right? You can do it with less ammo, basically, and you can do it with keeping stronger positioning. It's really applicable on last as well. That's kind of the Ubers if you're further back here, what you can do with it. Worry about spy decloaking here. Don't go back here for spy, by the way. It's probably really bad. You're like just creating opportunities. Just make sure you're letting your team know. Like your scout can chase that guy. Just like, oh, you caught him, he has no knife. Tell your scout he's there. You know, oh, you catch him here. You know, you catch him up here. Just like make sure you're calming to your team and they can kind of kill him. You don't need to go find him. Just make sure he's not able to just like get on your NG or your medic or your demo without you knowing, or your sniper. Usually your sniper's playing around here too. If your sniper's playing all the way in the back here, you can kind of trust your NG to be worried about that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this kind of hold on third. Usually, if you have the space, you want to be trying to take out, like play wide. Here, you want to be a lot more worried about this area, you can track the spy very well and easily catch him on this cross, or even just like come catch him right as he gets here. If you just like track him like very well, because most of the time he's going to spawn and like run directly to this, because it's kind of like the best cross for him versus tracks, which is scary, or like flank, which is just so much longer. Like there's not a lot of like after here there's like no ammo packs other than that if he wants to cross through ladder, which is a lot scarier. Like this cross is just very, very long and very risky, because there's going to be like a soldier and a heavy out here, right, that he's worried about, or just a heavy that he's worried about through here. But yeah, that generally kind of turns into your job, is just make sure you're not getting sniped, make sure the spy doesn't get to walk in and do anything, and then a lot of times your team's going to be taking an Uber through here, which you can be involved in, but it's dependent on what your demo wants. Just be trying to reflect spam, be worried about spy, be worried about soldier, like trying to get in from one of these two places. You kind of have to do all of your jobs at once, but usually you're kind of just like waiting for them to commit to a fight, because it's a pretty hard point to like get like a solo. Like you can't do a lot of hero plays on this point, or on Vigil in general. It takes good coordination as a team to actually get through like really anything. Big thing is like make sure you're not getting like sniped from here. But again, like your demo's playing out, right? Like so he's like stuffing this and shooting spam. So like the sniper shouldn't be able to peek. And then if the sniper comes up here, you just make sure you're worried about, you know, this. You just kind of like move with sniper calls. So it's something that you should be doing on every single map. It's understanding your positioning in relation to the sniper angles, and then listening to calls and using geometry to make sure you're not getting sniped. But yeah, just hold strong positions here. Don't go patrolling. Just make sure you understand where you can die from, and make sure no one's getting killed by dumb shit. After you lose third, there's a couple ways to kind of default on last, but usually the best ones involve playing out. Most teams are going to be kind of holding on this left side and then trying to play out onto tracks. So kind of what your job becomes here is, if you're playing back... Oh, actually, sorry. Let me cover something really important first. After you lose third and you're rolling out to last, expect this bomb. There's going to be a demo, there's going to be a soldier, and they're going to just try to land like right here. So be ready for that and expect it to be happening as you roll out. Do not get surprised by it. It's extremely common, and usually the spy's not going to be in position already. So it's just going to be a look forward, deal with these two bombers, and then like set up your hold. If you like get forced or your med dies here, this is like, that's like the things that lose you the point that let them roll you. So deal with that, and then you want to kind of get the space. Most of the time you're going to have this left side area like kind of under like control, and then you're not going to have a ton of control over flank from a spy perspective, from a Pyro perspective. So you want to like make sure all this is clear, make sure like a spy is not decloaking in a dumb corner, checking this corner is really good, checking this corner is really good. Generally you don't need to go all the way back here. Do note spy can be here and looking through this. You can spy check like this. You can spy check pretty nicely with debts over here and over here if you think spy is crossing. You can oppress the sniper who's going to be trying to swing big door very well just by shooting these debts. If you get the call that he's coming right side, you can shoot these debts instead. You can also spy check extremely well just by deading here, even just like deading here. You basically get to hang out, avoid sniper sight lines, and then like shoot debts until the spy dies over and over again, assuming your team has a decent hold going. It's an insanely strong point to be spy checking with a det. Just make sure obviously you're turning around and not just being like looking forward all the time and like never turning around to deal with spy. But you can very easily be like, okay, spy's crossing right now. Okay, he's not here. He's not here. Okay, he's not here. Okay, he's not here. Okay, now I need to be worried about him being behind, so I'm going to shoot a det here. Maybe check this. You know, kind of chilling. That's if you're playing further back. Not if you're playing forward. Ideally, what you want to be doing is your demo's going to want to be playing up, and you're going to want to be playing up with him. If your demo is playing up, trying to like stuff these chokes with sticks, and he gets backstabbed and you're alive, it is your fault 100% of the time. That should never, ever, ever be possible. So make sure you're playing up with your demo if he wants to play up. Generally speaking here, you kind of default to the same things, except you're doing it a little more forward. Stuffing the sniper, worrying about this corner, worrying about this corner, worried about spy coming up here. Be very wary of walking past this ever, or if your demo walks past this ever, because this corner is like a really nasty decloak spot that the spy can just be here. Even if like your sniper's like trying to like peek this here, spy can very easily just kind of like run this up and stab you. So be very, very careful of that. Basically, it becomes a game of like getting ready for the Uber and then just doing a lot of spy checking in the downtime and being ready to stuff bombs and such. This is a really effective point to stuff Ubers on as well for Pyro. So yeah, just, you know, keep a good eye out, do a lot of spy checking with that. Even just shooting a debts around corners here is really, really nice for spy checking. This is like this easily spy check with that map. I think like if you watch like any of my demos, you'll see I spy check with that almost more than I spy check with my flamethrower pretty consistently. And this map is like just the most like this in Cascade. Just make sure you're utilizing that, or even flares. Like I said, flares really good on defense. This is, you know, these are still just like good flares to spy check with. Less oppressive because you actually have to hit the sniper as he's peeking and such. But you can still like check these corners, check up here and stuff really, really well with flares. Generally, you're doing that, making sure nothing bad happens to your demo until they take an exchange. And then you can either stuff it here, you know, just put this guy in the corner. You can stuff it here. You know, I've killed many a med just by air blasting them off the map right there. Or you might be falling back because they come out red room, and then it can be your job to stuff this, or you can just like fall back and like be worried about making sure nobody gets through here. This is an extremely important point that you can call spy cross very well on. I will very frequently be tracking that he's spawning and then being like, okay, you know, I'm checking here. Like as the cross happens, I'm making this really hard. He's like, I've seen he's not gotten through here. I'm like 99% sure. I'm like, okay, guys, care for spy on flank right now. And then like your scout, your soldier, whatever can look for spy, and you can like shoot some deaths over there as well. And it's pretty easy to catch him consistently. This is a really hard point for spy to actually get it on. So if you just have that like solid tracking and just make sure you're telling your team where he is, make sure you know where he could be, you can just kind of like completely lock that guy out of the game on last. So definitely keep that in mind. It's a lot less common these days for teams to hold right side because you're usually giving up so much space. Usually if you're rotating right at all, you're actually taking your flank and like trying to fight back in. But that's a lot less common. Just listen to your team and go with your combo if they want to do that. I think that's about it for defense though. I think I covered most things. As always, if you have any questions or think of something that I missed, please feel free to comment, reach out, whatever. More than happy to talk about this dumb game and this dumb class. But let us get some offense going. One sec. Okay. All right, so for offense, like I mentioned, teams are generally going to be holding on that forward flank side. So depending on where they're holding, kind of depends on what you do. Usually, most importantly, clear some sticks at the start. Business as usual. You can preemptively clear sticks there too, just in case. If you get the call that they are holding flank, generally speaking, you just want to kind of clear out for spy, maybe check here, maybe check up here, make sure spy can't be in here. And then you're most likely going to be getting in for a fast Uber. Usually under those circumstances, it's going to be you and your demo. That's kind of the way I like to do it. The way teams I've played on in the past do it. But as I said, I've also seen scout demo Ubers. So, you know, do whatever your team wants to be doing. In the situation that you're taking like a demo Pyro, generally speaking, what you want to do is kind of like have this position, know that you've cleared out spy from this area, and then be worried about spy from here, basically, because it's very, very common for spies to be playing like in here or like trying to like drop down and stab people. So you can kind of just like chill, vibe, do your thing. And when it's time for the Uber, you just come take the space, try to stuff them up here the best you can. Maybe try to kill this heavy, clear that guy out. But generally, the goal is to get the Ubers out. Something that I know Leaf loves to do on this point is when they take the Uber, is he will just like go here and like try to collapse with everyone. It's really good if you're on flares. On first, you can definitely get away with being on flares. There's not a whole ton of traps you need to clear outside of like the spawn traps, which you can kind of bait out if you need to. But I think it is a viable strategy. Because you get here like right as the Uber's fading, and if your team actually commits in the post and your spy got the sap off, you're just like doing this and like basically behind them while everyone else is like worried about collapsing in on them. It could be really strong. And like I said, if you're on flares, you can very easily just like, you know, one tap someone real quick, like kill the medic or something. Make it like a really fast, easily 1 point. Otherwise, teams will take a dry fight after this, basically. And then you just want to be worried about reflecting spam the best you can. Maybe spam out this heavy. Make sure spy doesn't come in is also very important. Because like your whole team's going to be looking to peek this, looking to kill this heavy. So if you're just here making sure your sniper lives who's trying to peek with you, making sure your demo doesn't get backstabbed, kind of juggling both, that's really, really good. Usually at that point is when you win the point, you push them out. A lot of times you end up in a situation where if they're too far overcommitted after you've won, you can kind of like end up in this chase situation where you're like trying to like cut them off and make sure they can't leave. So getting as many kills as you can on first is really, really good. Even if you end up dying for it, if you like kill their med, kill their NG, like make it really hard for them to set up on second, it's really, really, really good. Because first, this flank hold is only really good if you actually get people out. If you like full commit and die for it, a lot of times they're just going to be able to roll second, and it's going to be a worse hold than just if you were to give up first and hold second. So it's really important to try and punish people as much as possible. If the demo lives on first, make sure you clear this point. It's very common for demos to hide sticks in here. If they're alive. So just be wary of it. Make sure you always do it. It's one of those things where a lot of times it's just never going to happen. But the one time you don't come and do this, you're going to like lose 3 people to like a dumb trap because they didn't think about it and they assume their pyro, cleared the trap a single time. So be wary of it. Once you take first, it's very common in my experience to either take an Uber or a sack through tunnel. If you're taking an Uber, a lot of times it's going to be like demo heavy. You just kind of want to like get your team through here, make sure no one's getting stabbed from this corner, maybe try to clear this, maybe reflect some spam until the Uber starts. And then what I really like to do personally, I can't say it's good, but you can get insane value out of it, is I'll just go side during the exchange while everyone's looking at it and just at least look at what's going on out here. Sometimes it's like, the gun's already dead and there's like a sniper like standing here like an idiot and you just like get a free sniper pick. Sometimes it's just like you get to shoot a couple deaths and like add pressure during the Uber and then like meet up with your team after they back up. Other times I will literally just like see an opening and just like run through here and just start chaosing people during the Uber. I've won the point by doing this before where they're all like back here, like getting ready for a refight or something. And I just come in, die, but I do like 300 damage and they all just like leave and run to third because of it. Don't overcommit and die for no reason. Like if you see a heavy just holding you here, it's like, okay, light that guy on fire, just get back to your team. It's not like it's an opportunity to find an opportunity. Don't overcommit to doing it. It's more important to get with your team if you don't find something. Usually then, if you don't like win off this Uber, what'll happen is you'll take this exchange, you'll kill the gun, hopefully get their Uber out, and then you'll very, very quickly rotate for a hill post fight. When you're rotating here, or even if you're taking an Uber straight through hill, which can happen as well, your biggest job here is making sure these sticks are cleared. Technically, there can be sticks here, there can be sticks here. They're less common. There's almost always sticks here. So just shoot this, get your team out, and then depending on what your team wants to do, if it's the post fight, you want to commit. So just be like shooting this, get out, make sure spy is not here. Maybe try to take the house and like fight someone here, or just try to take space wide with your demo, reflex spam, be worried about spy. You kind of got to do both here. Sometimes there'll be bombs that come up from here or just like over here. So be a little worried of that. But ideally, like once you're here, you're committed to like pushing these people out. So you just want to keep your team alive as best you can. Try not to feed unless you like really, really have to. If they're taking an exchange and it's like demo scout, what you can do is just clear this trap for them and then let your sniper have this angle for the post to make sure your sniper doesn't get backstabbed while they're Ubering, and then get in for post depending on what your team wants to do. I've played with demos that really, really like to just like take the Uber just to get the exchange out, completely reset, try to get nothing with it, and then come in for a good dry fight. So that specifically, you just want to make sure no one's dying during the exchange. It's very, very important, especially your sniper. Especially to spy. But yeah, generally speaking, if you do some combination of these things, you're going to get the point eventually. People are going to get the kills they need to. You just got to make sure they're living. Be wary. Like something to think about is whenever you're taking hill and taking this fight, a spy is going to come from here if he's alive at some point, almost certainly. Maybe he'll decloak in this corner instead. Maybe he'll walk in from this way instead. But it's almost a guarantee that a spy is going to try and walk up here and collapse on you. So be wary of that and understand who's there and what the threats are. Maybe your edgy's here or something, maybe not. So just know when and if there's someone to deal with this that isn't you. I think that's about it for second. Once you get to third, it is very much a just protect your sniper point. What I like to do on third is I will just come up here, make sure there's no spies in any of this. And then if my sniper wants to peek here, I will literally just like post up. That's really it. Let my sniper take the space. If my sniper's getting spammed heavily, I might try to like, peek and like help him with the spam. But otherwise, it's just make sure this guy doesn't get decloaked on. Just chill out, vibe, let your sniper win the point. Same if your sniper wants to go up here. A lot of times what will happen is you'll have, you'll clear out this space, and then your sniper will want to like peek this. So just give it literally like standing here on your sniper and making sure a soldier doesn't bomb him, making sure spy doesn't decloak on him. Your sniper can just win you the point. If your sniper can sit up here and just shoot everyone, like you win. So it's a threat that they absolutely have to deal with. So the better you can protect your sniper. And usually what will happen is you'll send your whole combo and flank through here. You can have your heavy worried about spy checking this. You can look up for bombs. Your scout demo can like go through this, or you can go through this. If you obviously you can't. But if you're not part of the Uber, you can literally just stand here, deny the spam, make sure your sniper gets to peek, win the game. Sometimes you'll be taking the Uber through ladders. Just if your demo wants it, listen to your demo, lead the Uber. The reason you do this is because like a Pyro can stuff this pretty well, so you want to like the Pyro counter if needed. Yeah, I just love giving my sniper the space on this point. It lets them win the game for free. Don't stand here. I just don't like it. One, you're kind of blind to the soldier, and two, you're technically blind to a spy like decloaking here and like going in for a stab on you or something, or just even a soldier like jumping up here somehow. Also, there's some spies can get to here. Oh, if you're better than me, Jesus. You can stand on this, and you can jump there from here. So be wary of some spies being here. A lot of times, if I've cleared out left and right and I have some time, I'll literally shoot a death that pops in between just to see if there's a spy like cloak and daggered on top there. So just be wary of that. It's not super common, but it can be a spot. And then be worried if you're playing with your sniper out here, be worried if your sniper gets to here, because spies can just be hiding back here and like going for a stab. So as long as your sniper doesn't cross this line, you can know for sure that if you're just kind of like standing here looking around, you're gonna like make sure that guy's protected. Just like try not to get sniped yourself too much, but to be fair, if you swing your sniper here, you get headshot and your sniper immediately kills their sniper and then like one other person, like that's dubs for you. That's a favorable trade. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. You can also, if your sniper wants to play on stairs, very easily just take this space, make sure he doesn't get stabbed again. Like this is like just like a make sure your sniper's alive and can peek kind of point. One thing to worry about here is if your sniper's trying to peek this, make sure you're worried about soldier bombing. Some soldiers will like take a really fast bomb onto you here. Worry about spy. And then, you know, maybe you get involved in the Uber, maybe you don't. The nice thing about this point, and I've done it many times, where like I'll be up here, you know, protecting my sniper or something, and then my heavy will come up here, and then I'll get called into an Uber, and you can literally just like do this, and like you're in the Uber. Good job, you know. It's very easy to rotate between the two. Same if they want like if you're here or something and they want to take like use through like ladder, you're like, you know, you're in the Uber. Quick, easy. So it's pretty easy to rotate. If you do, like, if you end up out of position for an Uber, you can just kind of like dead jump into being back in position. Otherwise, things you can do, being on the cart for the cart stack is pretty common. Either like playing this side and just reflecting, or playing the other side and just like getting cart in, pretty common. Worry about heavy and heavy spot if you're doing that. And yeah, just get this shit uphill, get it over, and it's, you know, good job. That's about it for third that I can think of. Last is kind of a boring point for Pyro, but your job is very important. Generally speaking, all you're going to be doing is clearing out this area and letting your sniper peek big door. Your job here, reflect spam if you can, but it's pretty hard without like also just like swinging the sniper. But be wary of people coming through flank. You need some flank presence. Otherwise, you'll literally just have like a scout, a soldier, like who knows, like landing on you. And like you just can't deal with all of that yourself unless your sniper hits like a god shot. But be wary of the fact that spies can do this. Be wary of spies like standing here trying to go for like jump stabs. Other than that, your job is basically just to make sure nothing bad happens to your sniper. I will be like watching this like a hawk. I'll be looking up here. I'll be shooting like deaths like this. I'll be watching this way. And generally speaking, what you do here is take this while your team is going to take an Uber. Usually they're going to come through like tracks or something, or they might even walk through big door. And while your team takes the Uber, you just want to make sure your sniper lives. And then depending on what happens to your sniper, depending on what picks there are, depends on kind of what you do. Like say you kill the spy here, and the soldier's dead, like out in the post, now's a great time to try and take the space with your team, you know? Say your sniper like swings and like loses SVS, but your team is still like trying to fight this, you know, now you can like kind of rotate and get to your combo if you need to, even if it's through the sniper sight line. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, your sniper gets sniped, so you just like, you know, do this and then like come in through and be with your team while they fight here. But a lot of times your team's gonna be like, either coming through tracks and ending big door, or like big door and ending big door, maybe even coming through flank, which usually if they're going flank, you can be a little more help in like kind of like clearing the space for your team and like setting them up before they take the Uber in. It's relatively common. But primarily what you're going to be doing is playing around big door with your sniper and then kind of finding the gaps from there. You really want to look at like, where's the next thing that's going to be like a major threat to my team from big door, and then kind of try to deal with that. You know, I've had situations where it's like, you know, I protect my sniper super well, but he loses SVS. I get to my team and like stuff an Uber here as they leave because they get used on and they don't have, and then I like come back here and like kill a spy that's trying to collapse. You know, it's like it's a very, very dynamic point past the setup of making sure your sniper gets to peak. But like I said, the big thing is making sure your sniper gets that peak. Other than that, generally, you're not going to be taking red room Ubers unless like Pyro's dead or like Heavy's dead or something. Just like make sure people aren't getting stabbed as you rotate in and out of here. You know, Spy can stand on top of this. You know, if you're hanging out here before peeking big door, be wary of Spy like trying to do shit like this. You know, if you're over here, be wary of Spy. Depending if your sniper's trying to peek this is really scary. I generally try to play like here, but it's still vulnerable to bombs. But this is like a really scary, like Spy can drop down from here. So you just want to make sure you're kind of like doing your best here. You could theoretically do this, I guess. It just makes you just as vulnerable to the sniper as your sniper is, which might be fine. You have less sight here. Like if you're playing in front of your snipers, like I don't know, you play like here. I don't know. It's a tough position to play in. This just feels a lot better, but it does leave like I've played there and like seen, you know, the bomb lands like here on my sniper and I like he doesn't even like enter my field of view. So yeah, maybe this is right. This is probably the right way to play it. You just want to make sure it's just a little more, you know, you got to be a little more like schizo and like be checking to your right and making sure nothing bad's happening. You can just like do this. Yeah, this is probably the answer. Though you then have to worry about like some like stupid decloak like this if you're playing that like tight. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's about it for fourth as well. You know, it's a point where you roll it, you try to take the space. You know, if you can get here and like just start reflecting people, great. If you can get to their spawn and start like reflecting people in spawn, great. You know, but those are kind of like the setups to get there. Yeah, I think that's about it for Vigil. So as always, thanks so much for watching. And if you think of anything I didn't mention, please feel free to let me know. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. And yeah, have a good one.